Good evening, I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Our top stories for tonight. Pharma tariffs will now rise to a staggering 250%, says Donald Trump. And over in Brazil, President Lula rejects Trump's call, turns to WTO over tariffs. All this and more coming up on AWANI International. President Donald Trump announces that the United States will initially impose a small tariff on pharmaceutical imports. He says the tariffs will rise to 150% within 18 months and eventually reach 250% to encourage domestic production. Trump said the goal was to ensure pharmaceuticals were manufactured within the US. He did not disclose the initial tariff rate on pharmaceutical imports, but confirmed it would increase over time. Last month, he suggested the pharmaceutical tariffs could reach up to 200%, while in February he said they would start at 25% or higher. He added that these tariffs would rise substantially within a year to boost domestic production. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says he will take the United States to the World Trade Organization over planned tariffs on Brazilian goods. He describes the move as a serious setback in relations between the two countries. Speaking at an event in Brasilia, Lula said he had no plans to call President Donald Trump, claiming Trump was unwilling to discuss trade. Instead, he said he would invite Trump to the upcoming COP summit to hear his views on climate. Lula described the new tariffs as the most regrettable moment in Brazil-US ties and warned that his government would not stay silent. The US had recently announced a new wave of tariffs targeting several nations, including Brazil, to promote domestic manufacturing. We have more after the break. Stay tuned.
Uniform Tentera Darat Malaysia TADM bagi peserta program latihan khidmat negara tidak seharusnya menjadi isu hangat.
Jenayah penipuan pelaburan mencatatkan jumlah kerugian tertinggi pada tahun ini setakat 2 Februari lalu.
Kementerian Pendidikan memandang serius isu peningkatan trend penggunaan rokok elektronik.
Lembaga Lebuh Raya Malaysia LLM memperluaskan larangan kenderaan berat memasuki lebuh raya pada waktu puncak di beberapa jajaran terpilih di sekitar Lembah Kelam.
United States President Donald Trump avoids taking a clear stance on whether he supports an Israeli military takeover of Gaza. Instead, he claims that the administration is purportedly focused on improving food access in the Palestinian enclave, which is currently under heavy Israeli assault.
Trump explains that US teams are on the ground trying to get people fed, but adds that broader decisions are up to Israel. He said both Israel and Arab states will assist with aid distribution and financial support, though offers no further details. Trump himself had previously proposed a US takeover of the region, an idea widely condemned by human rights groups, Arab leaders, the United Nations, and Palestinians. Now entering its second year, Israel's military campaign in Gaza has left tens of thousands dead and triggered a severe humanitarian crisis.
Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter will meet US Secretary of State Marco Rubio today as Switzerland seeks to avoid a 39% tariff on its exports. This last-minute talks comes ahead of the tariffs taking effect tomorrow.
The Swiss delegation's closed-door meeting with Rubio is set for 10:15 a.m. Washington time at the State Department. Switzerland is urgently pushing to reduce the steep tariff announced by US President Donald Trump on Friday, which threatens to severely impact its export-driven economy. The US is a key market for Swiss exports like watches, machinery, and chocolate. These products would be hit hard by the new tariffs, which far exceed those imposed on the EU, UK, and Japan.
United States President Donald Trump signals his strongest support yet for Vice President J.D. Vance as the Republican Party's future leader. When asked if Vance is his political heir, Trump says he's most likely to carry the movement forward.
Trump also floats the idea of a future Republican ticket featuring both Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Though the 2028 election is still years away, Trump's backing carries enormous weight with Republican voters and party insiders. Back in February, he said Vance was capable but insisted it was too early to decide. Since becoming vice president, Vance has taken on a major role in the administration, acting as a lead diplomat and a key voice for Trump's policies both at home and abroad.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he holds a productive conversation with United States President Donald Trump aimed at ending the war. Their talks center on tightening sanctions against Russia and finalizing a major drone deal between Washington and Kiev.
Zelensky confirmed Trump had been fully briefed on recent Russian strikes across Kiev and other targeted cities. He said Trump understands the realities along Ukraine's 1,000-kilometer front line in the east and south. Ukraine has pushed for an end to missile and drone attacks, particularly those targeting civilians and energy infrastructure. But Zelensky said Russia has consistently and cynically violated these ceasefire proposals. In recent weeks, Trump has grown visibly frustrated with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He has now given Moscow until 8 August to agree to a peace deal or face harsher sanctions.
The Kremlin says rebuilding relations between Russia and the United States will take time. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says the process is slow, weighed down by diplomatic inertia.
He highlighted the lack of a meeting between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump since Trump's return to office. It was the first time in modern Russian history that more than 6 months had passed without a summit between a new US president and a Russian leader. Meanwhile, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff was expected in Moscow on Wednesday for talks with Russian officials as Washington pushed to end the war in Ukraine.
Two Chinese nationals living in California are arrested for allegedly smuggling advanced AI chips, including those made by NVIDIA, to China. The United States Justice Department says Chuang Keng and Shi Weiyang export tens of millions of dollars worth of chips without licenses.
The exports reportedly occur between October 2022 and July 2025, violating strict US controls on sensitive technology shipments to China. The accused run a company called ALX Solutions, established shortly after Washington tightened export rules to curb Beijing's military advancement. Authorities say ALX sends over 20 shipments to freight companies in Singapore and Malaysia, commonly used as gateways for illicit transshipments. In response, NVIDIA said the case showed smuggling failed as it sold only to trusted partners and offered no support for diverted products.
Russian and Chinese naval forces are set to carry out joint patrols across the Asia-Pacific following recent drills in the Sea of Japan. Russia's Pacific Fleet says both navies will form a joint task group to undertake coordinated patrol missions in the region.
From 1st to 5th of August, their forces conducted a series of exercises involving live artillery fire, anti-submarine warfare, air defense, and maritime search and rescue operations. Russia said the exercises were purely defensive and not directed at any specific nation. Moscow and Beijing, which signed a no-limit strategic partnership before Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, regularly conducted joint military exercises. These coordinated efforts aim to boost their partnership between the armed forces and send a deterrent message to potential adversaries.
Now this week on Wu Says, we are doing something different. In this first of a 3-part arc of the program, we revisit some of the most consequential economic transformations of the 20th century. This week is Poland. Melissa Idris discusses what we can still learn today about the shift with Professor Emeritus Dr. Wu Wing Tai.
Well, in the case of Malaysia, clearly we had elections and we had new people. But let's look back at Poland, where the reforms, they came in, and they came in by election. But the kind of reforms, really, the right reforms, has to do with speed and direction. In other words, do I just speed up whatever the previous guy was doing, or do I take a different direction? And taking a different direction, what speed should I go at? All of this depends on what are the circumstances you find yourselves in.
Okay.
Let's talk about Poland. In this case, a new government got elected, a non-communist government. And they inherited a bureaucracy that was 100% selected to serve the communist power structure. That is the domestic situation. They are unable to know the loyalty of the instruments in which they inherit. As opposed to Gorbachev. Gorbachev inherited, but it was left behind by the person who chose him. So he's got the loyalty of the bureaucracy. He came from the insider. He was a new face of the old gang.
Oh, the gang.
You see, that's the new face of the old gang versus new faces of a new gang.
That's a good position to be in, Gorbachev.
Gorbachev had. So what you could do was very different because Gorbachev could still command the bureaucracy to do things because they have used to following the orders of his group. They were all promoted by his group. Whereas the new people that came in Poland is not sure of internal sabotage by the bureaucracy, for one thing. The more important thing that the Poles realize is they want to change it in a direction that is different from before. And the last time, when someone tried to do that in Hungary in 1956, the Russians invaded and restored the old way.
Right.
And in 1968, when Czechoslovakia tried to change things, the Russians invaded and restored it. So these people see themselves as possibly having a short lifespan. And if you think you have a short lifespan, then you want to make changes that are so big so that whoever comes back will find it really hard to reverse. So you got to move quickly.
Speed.
Speed and comprehensive. You want large-scale changes on in as speedy a manner as possible.
Catch the full conversation of this on all AWANI International social media accounts at Power Affairs.
That report wraps up AWANI International tonight. Stay tuned for our reports on the rivalries, strategies and the shifts behind the power affairs driving the new global order. Visit international.astroawani.com for more. Be sure to follow our social media accounts. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thank you for watching and good night.